We're going to move on through to your next speaker. She is a managing editor at the Shopify Engineering blog. Is that what we're saying? And she's also a person who, when I met her today, I thought, oh, wow, I should get into earrings. Please welcome Anita Clarke.
Oh, hey. How's it going, everyone? I guess we'll start with my slides. So it's not as elegant as I want it to be because my speaker notes are like on my phone here. But it's amazing, thanks. It's amazing to be here. I spoke at the first DevTO International Women's Day event, and it was like such a smaller crowd to this one. So it's really great to see what they've done in 5 years, and I'm like so happy that you've invited me back to chat with you all again. Last time I was here, I was a software testing fashion blogger, and that's kind of like that picture that's going on there, one of the wonderful things that happened in that life, that decade of fashion blogging that I really dedicated things to. But they've all kind of converged to this new role at Shopify where I'm the managing editor of the engineering blog there, and I get to help tell all the great developer stories and about all the great work we're doing in the commerce domain. So, which one is the one that? Here we go. So my talk is called Be Your Own Engineering Storyteller, and you're probably wondering what the hell is an engineering storyteller? When I joined Shopify, that was my job title, and it was amazing because it was like the Silicon Valleyest title you could ever have in Toronto, and I like relished it. And it's like really absurd, but when like my lead and I totally understood what it meant, in the end, like storytelling is an important thing, and it helps to bridge us. It's the human existence. And what an engineering storyteller does is help create and craft content that talks about the technical prowess of Shopify's team and encourages our developers to write stories and also help them up their communication skills and be better developers and better teammates and better for the company overall. Storytelling is a powerful thing. When my fashion blog took me on some crazy things that I never thought would happen, and all it was is because I decided to share my thoughts about things online, and people resonated with it. I was in some transit shelter ads. I've had television experiences, modeling gigs, endless society photos and parties, and a couple best dressed and odds across the country, which has been random, but like it all comes down to the fact that I just shared stuff without even thinking about where it would end up. I just wanted to express myself. And what I want to tell you here is that that can happen to you in technology. Like this kind of influence and experiences of sharing your stories can happen across any industry. You just have to make the vulnerable choice to do it. When you combine your storytelling with something that you really love, people resonate with that. They can they can feel your energy and passion and knowledge about the subject. It's a powerful tool to add to your resume. And it surfaces a lot of different experiences from my personal experiences with fashion blogging, but some of the experiences I've seen and helped with some of our developers at Shopify. So why should you write? Why should you share your work? Number one, you want to 10x your communication skills. 10x is kind of a Shopify term, but it really is just like mastering your craft and putting in the work to get better at it. And writing and communication are like muscles. You need to work them and exercise them to get better and to strengthen them. There's no like shortcuts to proficiency. It's really about continuing to write and continuing to share and getting better as you go along. LinkedIn surveyed over 2,000 business leaders, and they thought the second highest soft skills that they thought they needed their employees to learn was communication skills. Hacker Noon listed educators who can explain complex topics as one of their top 5 trends to learn in 2018 so you can have a great career. You can see that communication skills are important, and they will help you in your career if you work on them. This is a great quote I found. I'm just going to give you a minute to read it instead of me going off about it, because I always screw up empathetically whenever I talk about this quote. So you guys take a second and read it. Now, I'm assuming, we all work in tech. We can see that this statement is absolutely, essentially true. Our work is collaborative, and if we don't communicate with each other, the work doesn't get done very well. We produce poor product, we don't understand each other. Life at work is kind of hell. It is, I've been there, I'm not in it now, because I'm not, I worked at RBC, hey guys. And towards the end, it was kind of brutal, but it's RBC is still a lovely place to work, and I would go back. I'm sure I'd go back if things went to hell in a handbasket at Shopify. Another thing you should think about writing is that it creates influence. My fashion blogger career proves this. I just kept writing, being knowledgeable about my topics, and eventually people treated me as an insider and someone that deserved respect, I guess. And that's valid for any industry that you share your work with. Great communication skills show that you're passionate and engaged with your work. People see that you love what you're doing. And writing helps you build the skills you need to work with your teammates and explain yourself clearly and get that consensus so you can do that cross-discipline collaboration. I have some examples. Usually when I do this thing, I use examples from my blogging career, which really has no relevance to developers, but it was just mostly to show what can happen. But I have some examples from Shopify that have been really cool. The first one is I worked with with Sander, who's a senior production engineer, and he works in our developer tooling department. And he wrote this post about scaling iOS CI with Anka. And Anka is a Docker-like tool that allows us to spin up Mac OS virtual machines so we can run our continuous integration and delivery systems on that. We were one of the first companies at scale using this tool, and because it's on the cloud. And so when this post went live, we had a lot of companies contacting Sander, like Facebook, Airbnb, Atlassian, and Pinterest, wanting to know how we did this and what kind of lessons they can learn. Sander here, just by writing this post that didn't take him that long because his work that he's already really familiar with, is creating influence for himself. He's made personal connections with these people from all these different other companies, and he's getting feedback from his peers, and they're looking to him as a thought leader in this space. Another example, sorry. Oh God, do I just press it and it'll play?
Or string an...
Oh no. Okay, so Sander's post actually got us our highlight of the year, so I'm gonna play that now, hopefully it'll play.
Or string a number of Mac Minis together so you can form your own build farm. Or rack thousands of them together, like Mac Stadium, a company that has nearly 8,000 Mac Minis, 8,000, that developers use to make some of your favorite apps, like Candy Crush, Shopify, Day One, and more.
So this was the Apple Worldwide Developers Conference in 2018. I got so many pings on Slack when they dropped Shopify's name about this, and really it all came down to Sander wanting to share his story, that it had this ripple effect that we're being talked about on this massive, massive stage with people that are in our industry and now have heard of us. Another example is Kristen wrote a story about how we changed our monolith architecture to a monolith architecture. And she got some great shout outs from Simon Brown, who is someone who has a bit of a following with architecture nerds. And his work actually informed some of the decisions we made in our time, in this story. So it was great for him to shout out of her work and appreciate what's been going on there. Also, anything like this, sharing your work, personal brand, it's still relevant today. It was relevant when I was a blogger. Your bylines out in the wild, increase your personal brand. Easing the friction of cross-discipline collaboration increases your personal brand. Having the ability to gather consensus with your teammates increases your personal brand. Leveraging stories to promote yourself as a thought leader, whether it's a technology or a specific topic, increases your brand, sort of like Sandra and Kristen did. A lot of times, people are wondering what to write. It really starts with an idea of what you want to share. And most of the time, I hear that people are like, their project's too boring, or the project isn't interesting, and that's really not the case. You're way too close to it, so you don't see the forest for the trees. So these are some questions you should ask yourself when you're thinking about what kind of stories you want to write on technology from a technical perspective. Since it's 5 minutes, I'm not going to go through all of them. You guys can read them, and I'll get my slides up for you guys to check them out. And also, one thing I want to mention about stories is it doesn't have to be, to use an economics term, a macro story. You can really delve down into a sliver of what you've been doing and expand on it, and that be your story. It doesn't have to be beginning, middle, end. It can be just this one slice of time. So always remember that. It doesn't have to be a massive thing. For example, this one story, we had 17 lines of code that improved loading of our page by 50%. 17 lines of code, that's one story. It doesn't have to be a big thing. So you have your story, now what? Well, don't start writing furiously. Write an outline. That's always great. This is when you can get your research done, you get your thoughts in order. It'll really help you get your draft going faster. Talk to your peers. Talk to everyone you can talk to that will talk to you. Whether they understand understand what you're doing or not, if you can communicate to people that aren't in your everyday world, then you've mastered communication. You've been able to get your point across in the way that they need it. Because really, as communicators, it's up on us to make the information understandable to the reader. It's not on the reader to understand us. It's up to us to communicate to them in the way that they need it and they can understand. Then write your draft. Don't worry about it. Your first draft's going to be crap. All of them are. But you keep rewriting them. Talk to friends. Get people to look over them. Talk to your peers. Talk to your mentors. All their feedback is going to be great and help you. And then edit your graph. And there's a couple things here that I've been to look at for your editing. Grammar, of course. Stay in the active voice. It's more authoritative and doesn't introduce doubt into the reader's mind about what you're saying. Obviously, you want to remove ambiguity and doubts and tangents in your writing. Make sure if you're writing for someone, follow their voice guidelines and style guidelines. And remember about the reader. They're the ones that are reading your story, and you need to talk to them in a way that they understand if you want to be successful in communicating with them. And again, talk to your peers again before you publish it. And then you publish. There's lots of places you can publish. I'm not going to go about them, like your own blog, your works technology blog, even just chatting with people and in your daily routine, whether it's an email or a presentation you're doing. Take that time and try to make sure that everyone understands and take their perspective into when you're presenting to them. And that's me in the end. Thank you for listening to me go off about writing, and I hope you guys step on it and share your work. These kind of tips I would give to anyone, man or woman, but since it's Women's International Day, I really stress that you guys take that leap and put yourselves out there For the most part, nobody is, pissy or angry or negative about what we share. I haven't seen that in my experience. So put it out there, and you'll learn a lot. You'll gain new perspectives, and you'll make new connections with people, and hopefully your work will be easier going forward. Thanks.
Thank you, Anita.